folks. From the horror of being dragged behind a motorcycle interminably to the real survival horror of, oh my god, this game will terrify you. It's Daylight here on GameSpot's E3 Live stage show, and I'm joined by Jared Garrettson, the studio director at Zombie Studios. Jared, welcome to the stage.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you guys here. Daylight, you're one of the first things people see when they come into the West Hall here at E3, because you have a banner that's like, I don't know, bigger than my apartment.
That's Deadlight.
Yeah.
That's Dying Light.
Dying Light?
Yeah.
Daylight. Which Daylight?
So...
I'm so sorry, Jared.
It totally...
Can you forgive me?
We also have Blacklight, and so half the time I spin those up, so totally.
All right. But I was right about the survival horror part. This is Daylight.
Yes.
For those folks who like survival horror, they've maybe heard of this game. You guys been working on it for a little bit.
Well, actually, it's pretty crazy. We got Unreal 4 last GDC, and we started messing around with it, and what we found was we found out that it can procedurally generate things really cool. And so Daylight is a procedurally generated game, so each time you play, it completely changes the map.
Wow.
Yeah, so...
I think that's a huge game changer for survival horror, because so much of horror depends on the unknown.
Exactly.
And so if you can have that procedural generation, you know, even if it's creating spaces that look vaguely similar, the fact that they're different, I feel like that could just subvert your whole... Just add a whole extra layer to, oh my god, this is unsettling.
The worst part is it's impossible for us to demo, because every single time it changes, and we have a lot of experience with horror games in the studio, but also on the team. And so most horror games is hit trigger, event happens, boom, done, scares you once.
Yep.
But with this, it's throwing in all these different things, and I never know when it's going to do, what it's going to happen. And so it's very, very tough, but it's also extremely shocking as a developer.
I mean, that's like the game's bread and butter, though. Like,
yeah.
That's really interesting that it captures that thrill, that scare, even for you guys when you play through it.
It is very, very tough, because I'm kind of a chicken sometimes, and if
dude, me too.
Yeah,
I do so poorly with horror stuff.
Yeah, and we did some pretty bad things. For example, like the ghost, we decided to choose the color of the eye floaters that you have when you go into a dark room. You kind of see those colors. That's what a lot of the ghost colors come from. So,
oh goodness,
with us playing it a lot, and I go home, I'm flipping lights on all the time, because I'm just seeing things, and it's it's mentally terrible.
That seems like really fraught development cycle for you guys. What we're seeing now is some B-roll of the game in action, and this is another one of the salient design points is you're not actually flipping switches, you're just holding up your cell phone, basically. That's the light that you have.
Yes. Cell phones are a commonality now, where who doesn't have a cell phone, and why would you have a flashlight? So it kind of makes sense. And cell phones just have this different, more realistic feel to it. And so we put a compass on to help you, because the world's constantly changing, you need to find your way back and forth. Luckily enough, she leaves footsteps or footprints in the dust, so you can kind of at least have some breadcrumbs so you don't get totally lost. Now, she being the protagonist,
yes,
who is faceless, actually. Are you talking about who's writing it?
Who's right? I'm confused about even the setting of this game.
Okay.
What lay it out for me.
So the setting is you wake up, you don't know who you are, you don't know how you're connected to it. When you get attacked by a ghost, it resets and you come back again. So what's going on? Why is this world tormenting me, essentially?
So you're finding out different clues with each reset?
Yeah.
Like you're sort of exploring and you're making progress to some degree by gaining more knowledge about the world, but still getting busted back down when the ghosts... Is that a ghost right there?
That is a ghost. So how it works is, if you were to luck out and succeed in each chapter of Daylight, you still wouldn't get all of the information of what's going on in the world.
Okay.
And hopefully, if you're playing a game like Daylight, you like to be scared, because it is extremely terrifying in some cases. And so we want the player to come back. I mean, really, what this game was really driven by was the YouTube phenomenon, the soon-to-be sharing phenomenon of people constantly playing games and sharing it. And if we were to make it linear, it would ruin it.
Boom, it's shared.
Yep.
People can see the scares.
Exactly, and you know, I think that there is a place for that. Those cinematic, very, very linear movie experiences or interactive experiences in that case. But with this, what we wanted to try to do is something totally different. And this is it, and it's going to be really fun dialing it in. We just announced that we're going to be on PlayStation 4 as well.
Fantastic.
So we're really excited.
In addition to
PC as well. And we're going to release them both at the beginning of next year. So it's going to be really cool. And what we were originally going to do was have chapters, and now we're going to have all the chapters together, so players will be able to experience start to finish without episodic content or the need of that.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting for us, and not only that, but by us signing with Atlas, we're able to bring it to Japan, which is very exciting for us.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a certain affinity for horror experiences in Japan. Some of the greatest horror films of the past decade, I'm told, because I could never, ever watch them, have come out of Japan. And so here we are. You're picking up a glow stick. I mean, you're not just going to be having the cell phone the whole time, but nor are you... I mean, you're not picking up any weapons or anything.
No, I mean... all the experiences with ghosts that we've found, you can't hit them with a crowbar.
Yep.
So there's a lot. We chose a female character because we wanted you to essentially protect her. If you know, shooters are always male and they're badasses and they hit things and who cares? But
we haven't seen any of that at E3 this year, Jared.
We want you to protect her. I mean, we did a lot of research with horror films. If you're watching a horror film and the character in the movie isn't scared, you're less likely to be scared. So there was a lot of reason for that, and there are times where people say, "Oh, she's a female character, and females are weak." It's not true. At the end of this, you're gonna find out what the secret is, and it's really cool.
What it's all about.
Yeah.
And
so this is a flare also that you pick up, and that's very violent, but you can see farther, but it also casts such nasty shadows that it's almost scarier to use.
It really does. It gives it a whole volatile feeling that just wasn't there before, with like that consistency of, even though you could see less. Yeah, I don't know if I would go for the flare, actually, now seeing it in action.
Well, there's mechanics to each piece, so the glow sticks will actually help you find your way, because they're in a magical spectrum that allows you to find more breadcrumbs to get to the different areas, and then the flares will actually disperse ghosts. So there are mechanics to those that you'll learn and you'll be able to use in the world.
So you can, once you spot a ghost, you can disperse it if you're properly equipped, but I mean, is a better choice in a lot of cases to just run?
Sometimes they're going to block your path, and you need to figure a way to get rid of them.
Now, when you say procedurally generated, does that mean, there's a ghost? All right, so it's going to get dispersed now from the flare. It's going to be retreating. Oh God, ghost butt. Ghost vanquishing successful.
Hello.
Yeah, and the idea of it is
hearing some audio from the game.
Yeah, so that's what we're using as a tool. We have the character reacting to the world, because if she's not reacting, then
you don't know anything about her, or even that it's a she.
Exactly,
because it's all from the first person perspective.
Exactly.
This does not look like a place that I want to hang out. No, thank you, Jared. But Daylight is looking pretty cool for any fans of horror games, and I feel like there's been a little bit of a horror game renaissance in the past couple years, especially on the independent development scene.
And that's the really cool part about it is we make shooters as well, so it's kind of one of those.
Zombie Studios, Blacklight Retribution. Yep.
And so when you make a shooter, you get the shooter flame war of like X, Y, or Z is better, but horror is kind of this thing that's growing, and you can love multiple IPs without feeling like you need to choose that certain one.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, there has been a really cool renaissance. But the cooler thing is, a lot of the guys that we're becoming friends with that are making other horror games, we're sharing information, or we're even talking more about our stories and things that aren't there, like the Red Barrel guys weren't making Outlast. Having dinner with them tonight, they're super cool guys.
Yeah.
And met them at PAX. It's like, yeah, we're making something that's kind of same world, but they're so different. They're so totally different games. It's really neat.
That's a really interesting sort of collaborative opportunity, you know, because I would sometimes imagine that you want to keep your development secrets from other developers because you don't want them scooping your thing. But I think a lot of developers I talk to say that's not the case. You want to collab, you want to talk to your peers, you want to talk about the cool stuff you're doing, bounce it off each other. And going back to what you said about the horror game community, just, you know, it's just about appreciating the different horror experiences offered and the different ways that they scare you, as opposed to saying, I think Slender Man is the best. All other horror games stink.
I mean, that's the really cool part, is that's not something that's being fostered very well.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool because there is the idea of games like Slender Man, Daylight, Outlast all existing together, and it works out really well. And it's really cool to have just this year. I think has been a big change in the industry where, you know, guys from Respawn come by the booth and check out Blacklight, and, you know, I'm excited about their games, but also it's happening with the horror genre, where that's kind of what was happening at PAX when we were showing Daylight for the first time. Other guys were coming by. I was like, man, everyone's really cool, and there isn't a vibing type of situation that's happening in the industry, because I think that with this new generation coming out, as well as the previous generation having a longevity and the PC being so successful still, there's it's not feast or famine. There's a lot more, and there's a lot more access, and gamers are getting smarter and really experiencing a lot more, and it's really amazing.
Jared, I love your view of the game industry as it currently stands. It's wonderful because, you know, a lot of the discussion about, you know, yesterday's Xbox One versus PS4, which one's going to win, you know, and like this sort of, a lot of it is sort of adversarial, and it's fun to stack things up against each other and see how they compare and stuff. But I think it's great to remember that underlying this is all a culture of, you know, especially on the development side, like, we're all creative people. We are in this business because we love making games. Let's talk about making games. Let's check each other's stuff out, and let's cross-pollinate in a way that's just going to benefit everyone.
And that's kind of the thing is, I mean, you look at all these games that are coming out. Just this industry is growing in such a great way, and I think that the new guard that's coming out are doing a great job communicating with each other. So it's really cool.
Very cool, Jared. People are mostly just confused about what they're seeing. They're not that confused about what they're seeing, but I think that they're intrigued by the procedural generation, and, you know, sort of so much of a horror game is, you know, it doesn't really thrive on the bright lights of E3, but, you know, people get a taste for it, and then it's something that intrigues them. They go for it later.
Well, and it originally started as an indie game. You know, that's what we wanted to do, something very niche in some way, where it was something that, you know, 6 guys started working on this. We signed it with Atlas, or we showed it at PAX, and it blew up, and we're like, wow, what's happening here? This is crazy. We weren't expecting this many people to be excited. And it's very difficult to explain. When you press a button, this world, this maze, the items placed inside of it, the gags, the horror elements, every single thing is completely generated each way. And it's very, very difficult to show and to experience like anything, you know?
But that's, you know, you say that's running on Unreal 4?
Yes, it is.
And that's new tech, and that we're only going to be seeing more of that engine in the coming years. And so if this is a glimpse of the kind of creativity and, you know, new takes on familiar genres that we can see, I think the future's looking bright, Jared.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Unless you're in Daylight, in which it's dark and scary and horrifying. And can we please go to another segment now? Jared, thank you so much for coming by. Zombie Studios showing off Daylight, coming out for the PS4 and the PC. When?
The beginning of next year.
The beginning of next year. All right, folks. We are going to go ahead and take a look at Wii U Party, and then we'll be back for the last demo of day one here. We're going to rock out. It's going to be awesome. See you soon.
At the Nintendo booth, I'm